Right, welcome back guys. So this is the XR600. So it's been a little while because I've been waiting for a replacement camshaft. So this is the one that came with the bike. It's a hot cam, and it has significant damage on the cam lobes, and it's also damaged this bearing here in the head. So today I'm going to try and repair that and then install an original Honda part. Now it isn't the XR600 camshaft. I think there's pretty much none of them left. So what I have found is this part, which comes from an XL650 I think, or an XR650. It's basically an evolved one of these, so a later version basically. So this is the 650 cam, and obviously we haven't got an original one to compare it to, but the ends where the sprocket, where the bearing fits and the sprocket fits, everything's pretty much the same. So the cam lobes and everything are in the same place. It's essentially the same head, just a bigger cylinder, I think. Now the good thing about this one versus the hot cam comes with a decompressor mechanism. So this decompressor mechanism, I'm not sure if I'll be able to show it, but down the base of the exhaust valve there, you've got this additional part here which holds the valve open slightly, and it moves around obviously, depending on, like, obviously when it's running this will move out of the way and you know, operate like a conventional cam. So I think the way that it works, basically once this started spinning, this extra weight on this side here will push this over. There's a mechanism or something to prevent it from moving out of the way, you know, normally. But yeah, there it's locked, and then once this is turning, it unlocks somehow. Anyway, oh, did I get it? There, so it's unlocked basically. Once you start moving, once the engine starts up, this deactivates. I think that's pretty obvious for anyone who's in the engine rebuild game. So the plan, and I'll admit that I've not done this sort of thing before. So the plan is I'm going to come in here with a scraper and we're going to try and remove any extra material. So I'm going to put the bearings in, and then we're going to put some die chem on this surface here, and then we're going to rotate it, and then we're going to see if there's any marks left here. Right, moment of truth. That's good. It's not touching it. So the clearance is there. So I was mainly worried about it, you know, like sometimes the cam would actually be tight in there, and but it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. It's going to be either too much clearance. Let me get the head. Might as well do the same thing with the head. So if I grab this and we'll put the cam in the top one and see if it touches. Right, so same again really. It's in the head and the cam can turn. It's not rubbing off the die cam, so I feel like that's a good sign. That means that there's nothing, you know, there's no metal on metal really. This is a bearing, which would be, I assume it's going to be fed, or it'll have oil around it. Oh yeah, there's a hole in the cam, so that's going to get fed with oil. The cam lobes are going to get fed with oil, so it'll feed the cam with oil. Yeah, see, it's got a cap on the other end. So have we got a problem here? No, I don't think so, because This one has got like a very, you know, undamaged surface. So there's a good chance that this area on this engine doesn't really provide any sort of support for this cam. It's such a thick piece of camshaft, I think the 2 bearings on the end is enough to support it. So I've got to change the rocket arms on this because they're all damaged. So on this particular head there's just two shafts that go through the head that way, so I've just got to break them free, and from experience they're a bit tricky to get out when they're off the bike, so I've got it on a bit, just a bit of wood. I'm going to see if I can get them off without any heat. Oh yeah, they've come out nice. Yeah, they're all different part numbers. Oh, hang on a minute, that's the same. So there is one that's similar. Oh, look at that. Brand new. So which one's that? This looks like it's got the extra part for the decompressor. Either the manual part or the... No. So that part's the manual one and that's the automatic one. So that's going to hit the decompressor mechanism there. So that has to be on the... That'll be the exhaust cam. What's that one? Oh, that's not the right one. Right, everyone's favourite part, fitting the cam chain. Now then, if I remember right, I put it at top dead centre. Yeah, so the lines are... Ooh. Yeah, so the lines are horizontal. I need to get the holes top and bottom, I think. Oh, it's moved now. What the hell? Maybe it's come off the bottom, as usual. Oh, you're joking. Oh. We all know what that means, don't we? It's jumped off the bottom. Right, I'm gonna have to spend a bit of time trying to get this back on, I think, because yeah, right. So, how do you get these back on? Is it worth a video? First, I think you've got to establish which direction the chain is falling. Chain's falling. So I need a light really down there. And it's gone off to the right side, so I've got to figure out. Right, so I've had a bit of a battle, but I've got the chain back on the sprocket. So we've just got to keep tension on it. Fit this all back together. I've got it at top dead centre. There's a mark on the crank. You get. Okay, so that's good. It's worse than putting it back on. Oh, right, I see. So that line is in the way. Right. Let's get that out of the way. Right, so I've got the cover on. It's took a considerable amount of time to get that sorted. So I've just gone round and I've just checked all the, you know, make sure there's no big chunks of metal falling in. And I've got the gasket ready, so got to get this the right way around. Right. Trying to remember where the cable fitted. It's right there, I think. Yeah. And then there's this other bracket. Guess that's for the oil line. Oh, sick. Right, just to catch you up, I made a slight error. Forgot to put the bolt in for the tensioner. So I've had to take all this off again and redo all that, obviously. So we've got ignition then. Ooh. Ooh. Just have a look at that. I hit. Can't start it. I've been trying for ages. So I'm just going to have a quick look at this plug and see if we've got a good spark or not. Not fantastic, but it has a spark. It's a little on the weak side, but there is one. Look at these connections. Right, so the last few clips that you saw were about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is my fault really, but the cam that I've installed is all right. It's the right fit and everything. It's missing one component. So you remember I was looking at this sort of like one-way clutch thing on the camshaft. Well, that's actually an anti-kickback device. So in normal operation, it's able to spin. Well, the cam is able to spin that direction freely. And then when you get a kickback, it'll actually rotate part of the cam to open the exhaust valve. It only works like say half a rotation, and then it'll activate the exhaust valve so you don't get a kickback. In order for that thing to stop spinning, there's this thing inside the head, so a pin and a spring, not a very big spring, but so this bike obviously doesn't have that, so the reason it wouldn't start, or hopefully this is what was causing it anyway, the anti-kickback device was basically freewheeling as I'm kicking it, and then occasionally it would hold the valve open, so you might get one compression and it'll obviously rotate another 360 degrees, and then the exhaust cam will be open because the cam's in the wrong position. So that's why I couldn't get it started. So I've got to take all of this off, take the cam out, install this. So I'm going to skip ahead and you're going to see me install this pin. Right, so we're back in to the camshaft. Got the sprocket loose, I've got the tensioner out. Just going to get the cam out without dropping the chain too far down. Okay, just going to get something to stick in there for now. So the cam, if we just go back to this again, I'm going to give it a clean before I put it back in. So, in fact I'll give it a clean now while we're looking at it. So the other mechanism which I glossed over is down here, and this is an anti-kickback device. So it's like a one-way clutch, so if I hold it, it'll only allow me to go one direction. So with the engine running, it's going that way, and then I try and do that, it's turning. So the idea of that is, which is quite clever, I've never come across this, if you don't kick it right and you get a kickback, this will basically do the same job as the decompressor valve. So I'll just have a quick look. So on the head there's a pad on one of the exhaust cams. In fact, I'll grab the old one to show you. One for the front right rocker arm. So it's got a section for the decompressor there, this little shiny spot, and then you've got this extra bit here. So this is the kickback mechanism. So I don't know which way it would be best to show you. So basically that's going to ride on the cam like that. It's going to hit this first part here, as you're trying to start it, open the valve, and then lets you get a bit of compression up in time for the first spark, basically. Now if you get a kickback, what's going to happen is, now this is going to be in a certain position, right, in the head. There's a locating pin here, so that will be downwards, I think, and then this whole, let me just double check that. So we've got on this decompressor, yeah, I'm almost certain that's the point where it locates in the head, so that would be down. So as this cam's rotating, this will be fixed. Hope I'm making a good job of this. But basically where would it lie? So it's not that part, is it? Because I'm confused myself now. Right guys, so I'm just going to try and explain the automatic features of this cam, so bear with me. So you've got an automatic decompressor for kickstarting it. So you know, with a lot of these, they work on the principle that at slow speed it's engaged, and then once the engine's started, this disengages itself, so this part moves away and then you get your normal cam, so you get full compression on the cylinder. So with the anti-kickback system, so this part here stays stationary as the engine's running, and it locates on this peg here. So I believe it's on the front side of the engine. As it comes round, it hits that pin, and then you get a kickback which will turn this. So if we just look from above, I'll try and do it from above. So imagine this is above the head, this is where the rocker arm would be, so you'd get your normal decompressor section here. You ride over that. Obviously this would also be stationary, so it's quite hard to do. But if you, let's see if we get that located right, so we're off the cam, where's the dot, so it's down, so it's going to be around about here. So you get a kickback which would push the cam into the rocker arm, and then it would lift it over all the way around basically. So it's basically a full 180 of the cam. So regardless of where this position is, I mean, it would only actually open the valve properly. I think the mechanism's pretty good, but obviously you can't picture it really. Basically, I said basically too many times. So if we understand how that works, you can understand how this, without that pin in the head, won't work. So this thing is able to just go wherever it wants, locate. You know, you can imagine that in this position, for example, the exhaust valve's way open. Oh, well, not open completely, but it's open enough. You know, there's a massive gap, so the valve would be open at that point. So there's a whole section, there's 180 degrees of this cam which would deactivate that exhaust valve. So without that pin, long story short, without that pin the engine will never start, and if it did start it would only run for a few seconds, which is what I found. So let's go into the head a little bit now. Yeah, so with this engine it had a hot cam in it obviously, and someone, or the instructions perhaps, say to remove this pin because it's just going to get in the way or fall out. So that's why, you know, when I fitted this camshaft, it didn't work because it was missing the pin. So this is the pin that we need for the original cam. So if you've got an original cam, you should have one of these in your engine anyway. So, but there's the part numbers for it. It's easy to find. It took a little time to get here. I'm not sure where it... Yes. So that's where it sits. Okay. Right, I don't know if I caught any of it, but I've put the head back on. Oil line's on. Yeah, the timing was spot on. So luckily I didn't have to mess with the timing or anything like that with the chain. One thing I might do when, or if it starts, is I might just crack this oil line just to make sure we've got oil coming through. I'm just going to stick the tank on because choke on. Let's hope it goes. I'll give it a little throttle pump. It'd be nice if it started today. That's promising. Now, I'm sure I've got enough fuel in that carb, but we'll give it another try. Yeah, so there's a misfire there, obviously, when you're giving it full throttle, and you could feel that on the road as well. So normally I would say that's probably not mechanical, given that we've had the tank off and all that engine work, you know, and it was running pretty well before, despite the camshaft being worn out.